Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Friday the 7th of January. So big focus this morning would be on non-farm payrolls. I say this morning, but this afternoon of course the data comes out. So we've got two lots. We've got the Canadian data coming out exactly the same time as US data, so it makes the Canadian or the US dollar Canadian a bit difficult to work out at the best of times there. What we've got though, as I say, non-farms expectations is 426 jobs created there. The ADP came in earlier in the week well higher than expectation. Normally this is quite an unreliable number, the ADPs, but we'll see what happened. It did have a bit of a market reaction. I think the price it's being priced in a little bit to the market, looking at the strength of the US dollar. So the US dollar has gained a bit on that basis and held its own really. So that's it really with news-wise today. Nice and focused. The result of that though of course is we often end up with chop in the morning. I'm just looking at this euro. Let's just bring it out onto a dailies, and you see it's quite a choppy old zone. It's remaining in this sort of sideward range. It tried its best in the quieter days to there you go on the 31st there to try and push out of it, but really it's just not the market it's not going anywhere at this stage. So it's trading in a range. This news, will it do something to trade it out of that range? Possibly. When it tightens up like this, you just expect something to get a bit of a flyer. So we could see something this afternoon, but I think it might be a reaction as opposed to a major change of any sorts. But good unemployment data or employment data could be a catalyst for something a little bit more, I guess. Okay, so just looking at the euro, really at this stage it's into the daily pivot. In normal circumstances I'd be looking at the potential trend break here. I've drawn that line very badly, but you can see what I'm focused on there, the trend break. There we go, sitting across the low there and seeing if it starts breaking that, really targeting towards that S1, this 1275 area, but not normal circumstances today, and it could, as I say, could just end up triggering it and chopping it. Okay, pound. I'm going to run through this quite quickly. The pound's the one that's got the most likelihood of some sort of movement, it seems, lately. It's still in a half decent trend. I was just looking at it though when you come down to the 4 hourlies here, and it's been in this decent trend. I put the MACD on there, it's a bit smoother. There we go. From the MACD point of view, it's softened up somewhat here. It's got some sort of divergence going on, although the divergence was really back here. I'm just looking at it's since pushed up a higher level there. It's a bit messy. A break of that trend line would, for me, get me focused on the short side of things, but for now, as I said, with the data coming out later, it's going to be a difficult one. I think it might even be going from this morning a little bit here. There's a much more aggressive play below the daily pivot maybe. Right, yen, again it's going to be same old here, range bound, and patience needed here. It's in a horrible bit of a horrible pattern really as it sits here. Quite choppy, trying to make any sense out of this. Was looking, as I said earlier in the week, for potentially more upside, but at this stage money may run to safety, and that could happen here before the news comes out. Could see a rush to safety, in which case we'd see this dollar yen selling off here. Aussie dollar market, that's looking sort of weak, and again we're sort of seeing it already moving through here today. It's selling off now. This does look quite weak. The sort of pivotal action that I'm looking at here across the time frames, it is coming down to some support though. That may hold it. A break of that level could see a continuation. Again, on normal days I'd be looking to go with this. It just looks a bit soft. My concern is the quiet spell that may happen, the chop spell Canadian dollar, range bound, choppy through here. Same old thing. It's having its moments, I guess. And yesterday was one of those moments. It started selling off quite well, late morning there into the afternoon, selling through there. But again, it's just catching a bounce at the moment. Just looking at pattern wise, there are some patterns around it, but it's just looking at these previous candles, and you just see how zippy it is one way then the other way. Strong sell off, then a bounce. I think, as I say, risk sits in there. You almost double rationed of risk there because you've got the Canadian data and the US data coming out. So for me, it makes it one to stay clear of. Right, so it's going to be a quiet morning on the trading front for me, most likely. I might look at one of the European currencies if something sets up and starts breaking, but it probably be closed before the news comes out. Okay, looking at other markets then, looking at the commodities markets, gold wise, what's happening here? It's just come out. Gold is taking a hit again, and once again you've got this sort of swinging sort of movement. It's looking quite bearish as it sits at the moment. Consolidation around the lows here. Often when it consolidates around the lows, you expect continuation. Now this could be all changed later this afternoon, and that's why I sort of look at it. If you've got to sort of almost want to be in and out before then, but so often there's not a lot of volume kicking around. But for mostly I would be looking on the short side of this as it's sitting at the moment. Oil seems to be, and it pushed up yesterday quite strongly. I was looking at it in the morning there, and it's sort of bucking the trend a little bit, continuing to push up, and quite solidly at times. Yesterday it was running right away through the morning there. 10 o'clock, it really got some legs into it and continued pushing. It's got a bit of divergence running across the highs at this stage. Daily pivot below. And quite a bearish looking sort of bar at the moment, almost engulfing the prior bar. Looking soft. Maybe it's due back to its pivot. That in itself could provide an opportunity later on the long side with the trend. Right, so that's that. Let's have a quick look at other markets. Just switch for this, and I'm going to look at the cryptos first, just briefly. I'm just on an hourly. I came down to the hourly yesterday. I was just looking at what was going on with Bitcoin. It did put a bit of a divergence in around these lows here, then sort of started moving up, and I was thinking, well, to me it still looks a bit soft. Well, sure enough, the 3 o'clock this morning sold off some more. Let's go back to the dailies though. I do look at this mostly on the dailies. I was just looking to see what it was doing in the short term. Here we're seeing a breakdown of the prior lows, a spike there. We're just seeing it breaking around this area. As I said, the way things are shaping up at the moment, it looks to me like this could just continue some more, and the sort of the 32,000 area might come into a bit more interest, and we could see that reached. Now things could change significantly this afternoon with it. It can have some big moves either way, but if it's to the downside, well, it might just be a quicker day to the downside. Ethereum, let's just change back to a daily chart here. Same picture, lower highs, lower lows running through this. Not a time for me to be looking to buy into it, and at the moment it's really in the bearish side, so it's really a seller's market. Ripple, similar-ish, hasn't gone down as far as that spike low there, but certainly in that bearish mode at this stage. And the story is pretty much the same across the board. FTM, or for the moon as the guys in our trading room like to call it, that's consolidating and holding better. Any positive news might run quite nicely and push through these prior highs here and have a decent run. It's sort of bucking the trend a little bit, or at least it's holding up quite well around its highs as opposed to the lows. Right, let's switch over and look at the oops, don't want that one. Let's have a look at the indices this morning. So, well, we ended up yesterday, actually CSI there ended up just coming back a little bit on the close there, but as I said, this just me is just it's bearish. It's put the lower high in, it just looks soft and is bearish. It's got a green bar there at the moment, but it's lower than it was yesterday, so it's effectively a down market. And there we go, the Nikkei 225 again looking soft, and that lower trend line looks like it could be a target moving into next week. FTSE this morning, 801, we are just open. Well, the FTSE sold off yesterday and held on. It didn't drop too much more than it did in the morning. It was sort of there. It's just holding in there. Still got potential in the big picture here to push on up. It's doing okay. DAX a little bit more, looks like it's on a bit more of a roll here. Yesterday it sold off. I mean, that double top is quite obvious as you look at it now and you're seeing what's happening. Maybe we'll get a bit more retrace across these equity markets, but yeah, could be more. I mean, again, a sort of a swing downside setting up there. Break of the lows, could see a continuation on the CAC as well. S&Ps, well, yesterday not much of a day there. Doji-ish bar sort of sitting in there, looking soft. And again, the ranges on these markets are quite small. Nasdaq this morning, Nasdaq futures selling a little bit better back here. We have this sort of these lows. These could be broken this afternoon if some really good jobs reports comes out. We could see this actually selling off here. The reason being, of course, that there's more pressure, particularly if there's wage inflation, there'll be potential interest rate increases quicker rather than anything else. I don't think necessarily we'll see too many extra ones this year, but it's just the speed of any action moving these markets, and it could have a negative impact. Likewise, Dow Jones just looking a little bit softer. It's just around its prior lows there yesterday, just sort of sitting around there, and we could just see that continuation to the downside. So there we are. That's pretty much it for me. Oh, I just did have a question there. Hi Super Hands, well done. Welcome back. Happy New Year to you. Let's just sort of go back here. Sorry. The Citigroup then. This is for Christina, her favourite. Yep, you've missed the higher low that came through back here. Is basically, there's the turning point on Citigroup. It did start picking up obviously before then, really like trying to catch a knife there, but retraced a little bit, then broke there and gave it the shove up from that point. So a bit of a difficult one to get in. It probably gapped up quite a bit, but and moved quite quickly. But yeah, it's you might have missed a move at the moment, but it does look like a reasonable move. There we go. Did cover that for you. That's it for me. I wish you all a great weekend, a great day's trading today. Maybe later on this afternoon, if you're holding fire, keep the powder dry, stay in cash. He says, looking quickly and see what's happening here. Not a lot. Have a great one. Bye for now.